To Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com /WakeUpCallDT. I hope you're having yourselves a fantastic morning this morning. I know that I am, and I hope you're doing well. And I just want to welcome you into the Cafe Kubal Studios. I am, I'm so happy to be here. I think, life is such a beautiful thing, and I don't think we always take the time to say thank you to God. And so I want to say thank you this morning because I could say thank you a lot more. And I'm so thankful for being here. I'm thankful for waking up this morning. I'm thankful for Lily. I'm thankful for Papa Joe and Mary. You're going to hear from Papa Joe in just a second. I'm thankful for the opportunity and the ability to take a vacation coming up. I'm thankful for John Granquist, who I went to school with, who's a great friend of mine, who helped design all my new logos. I'm thankful to Mark Products, who put my logos on apparel, and it looks incredible, and it looks even better than I could have ever imagined. So thank you to Rich, Louise, and the entire team at Mark Products in Syracuse, New York. I'm thankful for my new headphones that just came in that are amazing and just incredible. And I'm thankful for all the coaches I get to talk to and all the players I get to talk to and all the events I get to cover. And so this morning I just want to say thank you, and I want to take the time to tell God, hey, I appreciate it all. And it means the world to me. So God has overblessed me a billion times over, and I will do my best to pay that forward. So I just want to say thank you to God. With that being said, we have a fantastic show for you today. Papa Joe's joining us in his normal time here from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We got a few bonus minutes that we can give PJ if we need to as well, because at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll be joined by Matt Gallagher, the Maine-Endwell Spartans head football coach for their high school team. They have won their sectional championship, Section 4 Class B, which means that they're moving on in states. And I'm ecstatic about the opportunity to have my special video conversation, picture-in-picture, with my guy Matt Gallagher of Maine-Endwell. Very, very much looking forward to that. So that's in hour number 2 at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Here in hour number 1, we have Papa Joe to speak on the Florida Gators and the Dan Mullen saga. Who would have thought it would have turned this quickly? The Jaguars' identity, college football playoff rankings, which I'm always excited about, and the college football Week 12 picks. So it is my honor. It is my privilege. It is one of the greatest things ever. Now, I've interviewed probably somewhere around 3,000 people on this show. And I'm not saying it because he's on the air. One of my favorite voices and one of the people I feel most honored to speak with, more than Coach K, more than Jim Boeheim, more than all those names and I'm not saying it to say it. I'm saying it because I love this guy, and he's another dad to me. So it is my extreme privilege to welcome back to the show and to always have here on the broadcast, Papa Joe. Let's bring him in. PJ, how we doing?
That's nice. Those are nice accolades. Hey, you compare it against some good, tough guys there, man.
So PJ is here with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And for those of you that are wondering, that's my fake singing voice. It's not my real one. So PJ, happy to have you here. I guess we got to jump right into the Gators den, the Gators lair, and speak on the Dan Mullen saga and what's going on. What are you making of this? I mean, this is a guy who they heralded as a fantastic hire. They bring him in. They're winning games. The team's ecstatic. The community seemingly is ecstatic. We're talking college football playoff. Last year they almost beat Alabama, and now this year are we going to fire him today or are we going to fire him tomorrow? It's crazy how things have changed. What are your thoughts?
Oh, Daniel, this is hard for me. Gator Nation is certainly mourning, that's for sure. But you gotta play the game. My sources tell me that nothing wrong with the program. I mean, albeit he probably shouldn't have got rid of Grantham during the middle of the year. I don't. You heard me before in the telecast. I don't like firing coaches in the middle of a year. It does nothing for you. Nothing for the kids unless you have someone strong. You just moves right up. I don't know anything about the new defensive coordinator, but I know that Grantham was a good defensive coordinator, and I know that he had some problems over the last couple of years. And certainly, after watching the first quarter of the game against the Division II Sanford, I was shocked that the kids weren't making plays. When you got athletes the size and the speed that Florida has,
Yeah.
And it proved, obviously, because they won the game big, but these kids are expected to make plays, and they didn't make the plays. And I think probably the coaches on the sideline are probably, they couldn't yell. I mean, they probably could have, but I don't know if they did. But sometimes you yell at these kids with fragile egos, and they don't respond. And they sure laid an egg. I mean, there was a matador defense out there, and he just waved the cape, and the guys go by. And this is against a team with good athletes, not great athletes, obviously, because they score a lot of points themselves. But the good part I saw on the game was that Florida responded well and came back and won big and scored 10 touchdowns. I mean, that you can't beat that. Emory Jones looked like the Emory Jones that I thought that I would see at the beginning of the year, albeit I guess supposed to be inferior team. Didn't turn out to be that way an inferior team, did it?
No.
But he could have done anything he wanted. He could have ran or passed for 1,000 yards if he needed to. But he was expected to make the plays when the defense let down, and he did. So kudos to him. I don't know where Dan Mullen goes on this. I don't think his job is in jeopardy. They're 5-5, and let's face it, they played Alabama tough. Lost 21-19 against probably one of the best teams in the country, and has been for the last 10 years. So maybe that let the kids down, but they did not look like an SEC team against Sanford. And, of course, the week before South Carolina was abysmal, terrible. This week they're expected to play better against Missouri. Missouri's 5-5, Florida's 5-5. Missouri beat South Carolina last weekend. So what does that tell you? Missouri's got the leg up. So, the boys got to show up and make plays. Talking about Dan Mullen, I mean, he's a good coach. Maybe not a great coach, but a very, very, very good coach. The only thing I can say about him, even with Mississippi State in here, is that I think his record is something like 55-50 or something like that against SEC, and that's not going to make it. If you lose 3 or 4 games a year or 2 or 3 games a year, usually they're against the SEC guys that you play, the tough ones. And frankly, he hasn't beat those guys yet. I mean, this is his 4th year, and although his overall record is good, he's got some cupcake wins in there, but it's not the kind of team that he thought that he could produce. Now, it is on him to produce it. There's a really lack of supply of really good head coaches out there now that may want to go to Florida, and they're paying Mullen $7.6 million a year. Think about that.
Yeah.
$7.6 million a year to have Dan Mullen coach the Florida Gators. There's probably 25 guys out there that would take half that much to come in and coach the Florida Gators. I think that they're 5-5 now. If they run the table and go 8-5, he probably stays. But if they lose Missouri and they lose Florida State, they're 5-7. I don't feel comfortable with that at all. I don't see him surviving that. At 5-7, he's not going to get a bowl. There's other coaches out there that are almost in the same predicament. I look at Steve Sarkisian at Texas. He was another one that's supposed to be brought in to Texas to win all sorts of division championships and clamor for the national championship.
Yeah.
And he's in the same predicament. He's 5-5, and they're talking about firing him too. What can I say? I mean, I have no defense against Florida. I have none. So all you Gator haters out there, I hear you. I feel it. So I just hope they turn it around. This is a critical game this weekend against Missouri. Missouri's no slouch. They're a good football team. They got a good coach. I think they're on the rise, and Florida's on the way down, so I don't know. And then the week after that, you got a Florida State team who's playing awful good here lately, beating Miami last weekend, 28 or 24-21, something like that, 31-28. They've come alive, and I knew they would. We knew they would under Mike Norvell. And next year, I'd look for him to do better things. But right now, Florida's facing really the most difficult part of Dan Mullen's tenure is this coming weekend and next weekend. If they win this weekend and lose next weekend, or lose this weekend and win next weekend, they're 6-6. They get a cheap bowl. Athleticism takes over. They win the bowl. We're 7-6. I'm not sure that's going to save Del Mullen or not.
No, and I think what it comes down to, for me is, covering college football for as long as I have, and obviously covering it yourself, watching it and whatnot, the SEC does not accept mediocrity, and the SEC's mediocrity is not the same as the rest of the country's mediocrity. The SEC's mediocrity is, Les Miles, 81% winning percentage. You lost 3 games in a row. We haven't lost 3 games in a row in 70 years. You're fired. So, Ed Orgeron, you won a championship. You lose Joe Burrow as your quarterback a couple of years ago. When he goes to the NFL, we don't care. You're fired. It's become a world's. The SEC is essentially become this world. Maybe always been this world though, where we can fire you if you have 3 losses. We can fire you if you don't play in the SEC championship. We can fire you if you don't beat Alabama. I mean, there's things that it's such a pressure cooker inside of the SEC that I feel like as a coach, and I've said this to you before, I wouldn't want to coach in the SEC. And it's not because I don't respect the SEC. It's that I don't want to have a heart attack at 40 years old. I mean, coaching in the SEC, I'm winning 80% of my games, doesn't matter. I won a national championship 2 years ago, doesn't matter. I just beat Alabama, but I have 3 losses, doesn't matter. So, I think for me, what I find so difficult is how do you survive? There was people saying when Nick Saban got embarrassed by Clemson in the championship game, there were people saying that they wanted him to get fired after 1,000 years of success. So, to me, the SEC is such a unique animal and such a what have you done for me lately? I mean, I know we say that in everything, what have you done for me lately? And I don't like that moniker. I don't live that way. But seeing people in the SEC really take that to the 10th degree, if not more. And, are we going to fire this guy because of this, and this? Dan Mullen last season was close to getting to the college football playoff, in my opinion, 1 or 2 times. And now he's 5-5. Now, if he, like you said, he beats Missouri 6-5. If he doesn't beat Florida State, they're going to fire him. If they don't go to a bowl game, they're going to fire him. If they're 6-6, they're probably going to fire him. The fact that he has 5 losses, they're probably going to fire him. And I just find that to be so interesting because Syracuse, and I don't know Dan Mullen personally, but if Dan Mullen is playing in the games that he's playing in and doing the things he's done and recruiting the ways he has to be competitive the way he has, Syracuse would take Dan Mullen in a heartbeat. And so I feel like coaches like a Dan Mullen, they're going to find life somewhere else. Ed Orgeron's going to find life somewhere else. But I'm just sitting here this morning saying to myself, whether it makes logical sense or not, one bad season is too much for the SEC. And I mean, even if he won a championship last year, people will be calling for his head. But I think 5 losses and what's to come, and if they don't have a compelling game against Missouri and they don't have a compelling game against Florida State, and God forbid they lose one of those games, I think he's going to get fired. I really do. I mean, the question now is, are they going to fire him today or tomorrow? It's not even whether they're going to fire him or not. It's what day. Are they going to wait until the end of the season? So I don't know, PJ. I feel like the last 2 years we've been talking about how Dan Mullen is elevating the program after Will Muschamp, and now we're talking about the fact that they may be looking for a new head coach.
Well, those are good points. I do have to say that although he is on the fence, obviously, and some other coaches, like I've mentioned, Sarkisian, there's a lack of supply of really, really good head coaches out there that want to make a change. I think that the powers to be of Florida are going to look at that and say, well, listen, if if we release Dan, we got to pay him such and such money, which they're prepared to do. And if they can't bring anyone in that's on the par with Dan Mullen, or maybe just a little bit lower, what good have you done? I mean, the Gator Nation is going to be pissed at that. So I was thrilled when Dan Mullen came from Mississippi State. I thought this was the end. I said he's going to ride this out for 10 or 12 years. We're going to win a championship. Da 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 da. He's now starting his in the fourth year. He's got his own players in there. So there's no more excuses to be made anymore, Dan. This is critical for him, and I hate to say that, but I don't want to see him. I really would be pissed if they axed him in the middle of the year. I don't like that. That sends a bad. This could go back to last year's bowl. I think when Oklahoma blew them out. They didn't look like the same team on that game. These kids, all of these kids that go to these high-profile colleges have such huge egos that you start screwing with them, and they're going to shut down on you. And I think last year in that bowl game, we saw what would happen when they just quit playing. Period. So they started this year, and they got going. They won some games, some cupcake game. They won a good game against Tennessee, losing against Kentucky, which they should have never done. Losing to Alabama figured, but I think it goes back to last year.
You're leaving to fight ghosts.
They're gonna burn this place to the ground.
Face the truth, Morgan. You failed.
We will come for you.
It was really fun to see women again.
This is the greatest story ever told.
Get away from her, you.
He's not doing too well at all anyway, which is why he's not playing. Emory Jones carried the team, and there's a good chance that he'll carry him in this weekend too. If I were him, I would maybe have a players-only meeting. I know he's a fourth-year junior, so he's learned to talk over there. He's respected. I would take the team aside without the coaches and say, "Listen, fellas, maybe he's already done that, but we gotta pick it up. You guys on defense, you gotta make plays. I'm making plays. My receivers are making plays. My running backs are making plays. You guys gotta start making plays. You are put on the field to make plays. If you don't make plays, we're gonna lose. So, to me, that's in a nutshell. And Dan Mullen is at a point of no return now. He guaranteed that Florida was going to compete for SEC championship.
That doesn't really matter much to Cincinnati where they are now because those three Big Ten teams are going to sort each other out.
All right, Jerry, of course, that's interesting to see how that all...
And say, well, I didn't say this, I didn't say that. He's at the point of no return now. He's either got to produce for the next couple of games and next year, or we'll spend another uniform.
Pants out later tonight. Of course, we have some breaking news this morning with Justin Fuentes out.
Is that last season, he was a touchdown away from going to an SEC championship game. You know what I mean? So I mean, he was right there last season. For he was where he said he was going to be, and I think that when we look back on this, I mean, think about it. In the SEC championship last season, he was there. Alabama 52, Florida 46.
As the head coach there, Virginia Tech, both sides deciding to part ways.
That game,
can you tell us more? What do you expect from this? Like, are they looking for somebody also?
I mean, we're talking about last year. Florida played in the SEC title game and was right there with being one of the college football top four to go to the playoff. I'm thrown by
and kind of, you look at this job. It is in the ACC. How big of a get would this be for somebody else?
Reality?
Well, it's a good job.
I'm saying this guy had you 52-46 against Alabama for the SEC title last season. Not even 365 days ago. I would not fire this guy at all. This is last year. But then I know it's the SEC. But when has Florida vied for a championship in the SEC?
It's in Virginia Tech. But, Clinton got off to a good start, and now they've been lingering around 500. I'm a little surprised that they pulled the plug now.
So how can you get rid of Dan Mullen because of this right now? And if it's defense, what did Todd Grantham just all of a sudden stop figuring out how to coach defense? I mean, that's what somebody else said to me recently. I don't understand. Grantham's a good coach. So how does this team give up as many points as they had? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of questions right now as to why are people looking uncharacteristic of themselves. How does Florida give up 49 to LSU, 34 to Georgia, and 40 to South Carolina? Two of those three teams.
I thought he's done a reasonable job, and Virginia Tech.
You fired Dan Mullen
is probably not the kind of program that's going to compete at the top.
Take those 3 losses out, and you got 2 losses. You're not giving up those points to anybody else. I don't understand. I mean, PJ, what are your thoughts? I mean, Grantham obviously didn't forget how to coach. He didn't just wake up one day and his playbook just left his brain.
The ACC every year.
And it was thrown out the window. I mean,
that is
I guess
possible,
I don't understand
because
how does this team all of a sudden stop playing well
the
defensively?
ACC isn't so strong, other than you're competing with Clemson.
Because if Dan Mullen gets fired, I think there's a good portion of that leans on the fact that the defense isn't performing.
Well, Grantham was well liked, I know, by the players, and they probably felt bad that he was released. No, he hasn't forgotten how to coach, that's for sure. Plus, he's got his own guys over there.
Playing up from a 500 level,
I'm tongue-tied because there's not much I can say. I mean, I can say that I like Grantham, and I think that Mullen made a mistake, and this and that. I mean, all of these things are redundant. I mean, we've talked about this. The newspapers have talked about it.
Can do that at Virginia Tech. I'm just a little surprised they pulled the plug so soon.
These kids that are playing now,
it's a good job. It's probably not a great job.
If they want to see Dan Mullen coach. Now, something that we haven't talked about yet is the recruiting.
There you have 7 openings. Where would you kind of rank this?
22nd in recruiting. Not up there with the Alabamas and Clemsons and Georgias and everything. They're not there. So, and I know that Georgia has stolen 3 4-star athletes from Florida's committed list. Now, that was just a couple of weeks ago. I think it was after Alabama or after South Carolina. That raised some signals to me. I'm saying, why would these kids leave like this? If you're a defensive player in high school and you're real good and you're a 4-star or 5-star and you're recruited by Dan Mullen, and I'm going to get a chance to play. I don't care whether I'm a freshman or not. And he's got freshman quarterbacks that are playing for him. So that didn't make me feel good right there. Why would these kids decommit from the program when Dan Mullen recruited them? And I think therein is your answer. Somehow, the recruiting kids out there and the other coaches, of course, hey, you don't want to go to Florida. There's a problem over there. You don't want to go to Florida. Come to Georgia. You know how it goes. I mean, these kids are fragile. You sit with grandma at the kitchen table and start talking to her, and you're going to wind up going to Alabama or LSU or something. And Orgeron is we've talked about him as a good example. I mean, the guy wins a national championship and loses his quarterback and loses his offensive coordinator. Well, Ed didn't replace them with quality guys. I mean, he couldn't win, and he's not winning. So I think Dan Mullen is going to be put in the same position like Brent is. He's got to win out, period. Florida has to finish the season 8-5 and go next year hoping to win an SEC title. That's it in a nutshell. There's nothing more you can say about it.
Yeah, and I look at the list before we take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, here with Papa Joe, here on our Thursday stint here. There's of the coaching carousel right now, Tom Arth with the Akron Zips. He was fired after 2+ seasons, going 3-21, 2-7 this year with Akron. Randy Edsall was let go after I felt like the program was sabotaging itself, and that Randy Edsall was kind of given the torch to pretend like it was his fault when it wasn't, because he built this program, went to Maryland, came back, and the program was struggling, but they parted ways with him. Jim Mora is now at UConn. Butch Davis has stated the fact that he believes that FIU is sabotaging their football program. He said he will not return when his contract's up on my grandmother's birthday on December 15th. They don't have a replacement yet. Chad Lunsford of the Georgia Southern Eagles is no longer there. Clay Helton of USC has been hired to go there. Clay Helton was 46-24 at USC with a Rose Bowl win. Ed Ogeron and LSU are parting ways, and there's no replacement there yet. Walt Bell was fired from UMass, an independent team that has done nothing in recent history. He was fired in the middle of his third season. They were 1-8 this season, following a loss to an FCS team, Rhode Island. 2-23 in almost 3 full seasons. Gary Patterson at TCU, who took over the program in 2000, was let go after a 3-5 start this season. He was 181 wins and 79 losses with the Horned Frogs. 102 more wins than losses. Doesn't matter. They let him go. Matt Wells is out at Texas Tech. Joey McGuire has been hired there. So he's been on Baylor's staff since 2017 and was promoted to associate head coach. So, and then he was before he was also a Hall of Fame high school coach after leading Cedar Hill in Texas to 12 straight playoff appearances and 3 state titles. And then Clay Helton at USC, he was dismissed in September, and so now USC is looking for somebody else. Justin Fuente, who I've known for many, many years, pretty much a decade. I knew him in his time at Memphis and his entire time at Virginia Tech. He was let go this season. Now keep in mind, Notre Dame came to town, barely won by a field goal in the last second. He was still let go this season after being 6-6. He was fired 2 days ago, on November 16th. Going 5-5 this season. So he was fired 2 days ago. 43-31 in 6 seasons, and he put himself in a position, and the team in a position. His first season at Virginia Tech, they vied for an ACC championship and ran out of time against Clemson's Deshaun Watson, Hunter Renfrow, and Deion Kane. He was fantastic in that game, staying with them, and the seesaw just kept going back and forth. Justin Fuente, a coach that, despite his firing 2 days ago, I still think he's a coach that you would want to look at to hire. And then Jimmy Lake at Washington, he was 7-6 in 2 seasons with the Huskies after taking over for Chris Peterson. He was suspended on November 13th versus Arizona State for shoving a player and was dismissed the following day. And then Nick Rolovich of Washington State has been let go through the season after refusing to get the COVID-19 vaccine. So, interesting why some of these coaches are there and why they're not. Also interesting is the fact that there's some coaches that have been retained or extended. PJ Fleck at Minnesota has been extended. Jeff Traylor has been extended at University of Texas San Antonio, UTSA. Mike Gundy's been extended at Oklahoma State. And Scott Frost was retained by Nebraska, which was interesting here. 15-27 overall record, 10-23 in Big Ten play. His contract was restructured, and he's going to stay there at least for now after leaving UCF a few seasons ago. So that's what it looks like around the college football coaching carousel climate. We'll come back to speak on the Jacksonville Jaguars with PJ right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets life. And we appreciate you being here. I want to make a note very quickly here that we are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and we appreciate Cafe Kubal for all they do with locations all across central and upstate New York. 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse. They're inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, and you can get them in Manlius at 343 Fayette Street, and in their newest location and first ever drive-through location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corner. So make sure you check them out there. We'll be back with Papa Joe right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Hanging out here inside of the Cafe Coupal Studios with PJ in our normal Thursday stint. Happy to be here with Papa Joe. We've been talking about the Florida Gators saga and also gave you an update on coaching changes around the country. Those have been retained, those have been extended, and those jobs that have been vacated, many of them not filled. Washington State, Washington, Virginia Tech, USC, TCU, UMass, LSU, FIU, and Akron all looking for a new head coach. And maybe, hard to believe, in my opinion and in PJ's opinion, but maybe Florida looking for a new head coach as well. Speaking of Florida, PJ, in the great state of Florida, it is time to talk about them Jaguars. What are your thoughts on where Jacksonville is right now? Are you seeing silver lining? Are you seeing any type of improvement on the field? What are you seeing from the Jaguars?
Well, the last game against Indy was wonderful. They got behind early again, which they usually do. I don't know why that is, but they played them tough. They could have won the game. They could have won the game. The last four games, they could be 4-0 instead of 2-2. They're playing that well. Defense is Miles Jack is everywhere. Josh Allen can't be blocked. The defense is playing great. Trevor Lawrence still hasn't found his niche yet. I don't think people are wondering if he's the guy, quote unquote, the guy to carry forward. I know he is, but for some reason he's not clicking with some of his wide receivers. I do like what they're doing with the tight end Arnold. He's making a lot of plays, and I think he's going to be Lawrence's little safety valve there. So they look good. They played well. They played in a terrible venue. I hate that place because of the phony turf and everything, but they played fast. They really look good, and I was disappointed that they couldn't pull it off, but they walked off the field with their heads high. They could have won that game, and they could have won 4 games in a row. We would be talking a lot different right now. But to me, they look really good. Yeah,
and I think the thing is, too, I mean, this Jaguars team has, you want to show improve. That's what you want to show. You got a new head coach, you got a new quarterback, you got a team coming off a 1-15 season. You want to show improve. And I think that, that's what I've been getting at here these last couple of weeks, is that the Jaguars are improving. The Jaguars are doing something that makes you say, okay, you know what? They're in it. They're alive. They got blown out by the Texans and Tyrod Taylor. That was embarrassing. They lost to the Broncos. Just, a lot of mistakes. They lost to the Cardinals when they came into town. I was at that game, 31-19. And that was a close game. And then they just let it blow out. They had opportunities. They didn't capitalize. They lost on the road to the Bengals by 3. That was a good game. They got blown out. I shouldn't say blown out, but they lost to the Titans by 18. And then they defeated the Dolphins in England, came home, lost to the Seahawks and Geno Smith, who's played a lot better than I thought he would, or, has at least led this team better than I had. And I just don't think Geno Smith, it's not him as a person or him as a player. I just don't see him as a quarterback in the NFL. And he's done some good things for Seattle, so I have to give him credit where credit's due. They beat the Bills in a defensive game 9-6, and then they stay with the Colts and lose by 6, 23-17. I think what we're seeing now is even if the Jaguars are losing, they're losing close games. They're losing games within reach. They're getting better. I think the monkey came off the back when they got a win, maybe, and then I think the monkey really came off the back when Trevor Lawrence won a game at home in Jacksonville. And so, it's like now you know what it's like to win in America. You know what it's like to win in general. You know what it's like to win at home. So now that monkey's off your back. There's no this is the streak that they haven't won games. This is how many days they haven't won. That's all gone. And whether they listen to it or not, it's out there and now it's gone. So now you can play more free, right? Because now you've won the games. You're not kind of psyching yourself out. And now they have an opportunity to move forward, which I'm excited about what they have. I know they're 2-7, but I'm excited about this team because I just get a vibe that this team is starting to move forward. And even if it's baby steps, you and I both know from covering this team and being around this team, and for me, for the better part of 11 years being around this team in the locker room and whatnot, I just want to see improvement. And I will appreciate the little things. And I think that we can start to see this baby Jaguar take its first moves to crawl, and then hopefully it'll walk, and then maybe someday it'll run again.
Yep, well said. I think they have a good game plan going forward. I think that Urban Meyer is finally settled in. I think that to probably understand how difficult it is to win in this league. I mean, every week you can get beat. I mean, maybe there's some poor teams in the league, true, but sometimes those poor teams can jump up and bite you in the butt. And I'd like to see he's animated on the sideline. He's into it now. He's congratulating guys. Not that he hasn't before, but I see a little bit more of it. And I want to see him. I want to see him lead because that's his forte. I mean, I could have told you what he did in Florida, which is what he did. He led, and he had good coaches, he had great athletes, and he won. So he's trying to follow the same formula. I mean, certainly it's different because this is the pros and not you're dealing with men and not kids. But he's got a kind of a folksy attitude. He's like Dan Mullen. He's not a screamer or a shouter or anything like that. He's a laid back kind of folksy guy. So I'm hoping that the guys will continue playing for him. Josh Allen could be, if he keeps playing the way he's doing, he could be the defensive player of the year. That's how good he's playing. And I'm looking forward to watching him every week. He just looks like he's unblockable. So I'd like to see him. I know that what you're saying is to see some improvement every week. I think we are marginally, but unfortunately, what I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing enough improvement on the offensive side of the ball. They're running the ball fair. He's throwing to his tight end a lot, which is good, and he's not clicking with his wide receivers. I still want to see Chenault make some moves and make some plays. I'm not sure he's going to play this week. Brown and you got some good guys out there that can make plays, and he's not getting them the ball. And maybe that's on Trevor, but let's hope they open up a little bit here playing the 49ers this weekend. And we know the 49ers for Jimmy Garoppolo, he can fill up the scoreboard too. So if you're looking what Trevor Lawrence should look like with Jimmy Garoppolo, that's what you'd like to see.
Well, and I think the thing is too is you and I talked about it going into the season that the biggest question marks. This offensive line has not stayed healthy. Brandon Linder, their center, hasn't stayed healthy. AJ Cann, who had been the most healthy at right guard, he hasn't stayed healthy in recent years. Left tackle, Cam Robinson hasn't stayed healthy. Right tackle, Juwan Taylor, he's been in and out. Left tackle, Andrew Norwell, since they got him, has been injured on and off. So I think the big issue for me when you talk about offensively moving the ball and scoring points, I think my issue is the fact that this offensive line just isn't working. They got some guys that have been around the block. They got guys that have been in the league for a minute. Besides Juwan Taylor, everybody's been there for a while. And I think, what it comes down to for me is that it's just not working. It's not working. And I don't know how you keep these guys. I don't know how you look at this line and say, I want to deal with this for another year. I think one of the biggest glaring issues of Jacksonville is that their line is not consistently positively productive. And even if they were consistently positively productive, which they're not healthy. So you got a line that's not consistent and a line that doesn't know how to stand, that isn't staying on the field. And it's unfortunate and it's sad, but injuries and inconsistency are going to continue to hold this team and this offense back. I think they need to change the line. I really do. If I were Shad Khan and I were Trent Baalke and I was Urban Meyer, at this point I would be looking for a new person on every position of the offensive line. I don't think anybody's safe after this year.
Well, at least they're keeping the kid upright, which is he's been sacked. Maybe he's got a few coverage sacks, but they're keeping him upright. They're not doing a bad job. They're not doing a real good job. I noticed when Walker Little came in the game the other day, and I've been touting him a lot from Stanford. The very first play he gets beat. Comes from quick guy, beat him around the end, and sacked Lawrence. So Walker, you gotta do better than that, buddy. You're 6'7" and 330 pounds or something like that. You're supposed to be a bookend tackle. So let's hope that next time he gets in the game, he'll start making the plays that got him drafted the way he is. Robinson was running the ball well because the line was blocking for him well. I think the line was playing better earlier in the year than they are now. Maybe it is because of the injuries, but Robinson being hurt too is not carried the team. You can't rely on a rookie quarterback to throw the ball 50 times a game when you're running back. Your running backs can't gain yardage. I mean, if the running backs are gaining yardage, that means the line is opening holes for him. And if Trevor Lawrence is completing passes and staying in the pocket 4 seconds, then the line is doing their job. I can't say they've done a poor job, but they haven't done a real good job. And as I stated last week, the worst thing you want to see is your franchise quarterback go down and you bunch of guys hanging around him. That you don't want to see. Fortunately, Trevor bounced up, got shot and got taped and came back in the game, and he'll be playing for the rest of the year. So, we got to give the offensive line a little bit more credit than what they've done. If they can, I really believe this. I really do, because I've seen the kid mature. I really think that if they can keep the kid upright, that he's going to win a bunch of games for Jaguars.
Yeah, and I think it comes down. I think Trevor Lawrence is talented. I think James Robinson's talented. I think this defense is giving us, signs of what the defense looked like a few years ago when it was so stout and so exciting to watch. But this offensive line just doesn't stay healthy. They just don't stay healthy. And that's been a big issue. I think Dan Arnold coming in at tight end from Carolina was a good move because you get rid of C.J. Henderson, who was a high draft pick for you, but he didn't work out. And Dan Arnold comes in, and he's been effective at tight end. So that's been good. James Robinson's been good. Miles Jack, who was good since he came in, he's now can be a leader and step up even more. Josh Allen is starting to come into his own. So, there's good around the field. But my biggest issue goes back to the offensive line. It's not that I don't like the guys, it's that they don't stay healthy. And, how many times have we gone into a game where Jacksonville was without their left guard? Without their left guard and their center? Without their right tackle and left tackle? Without their right tackle and right guard? It's like, I feel like every single week, it's like musical chairs, somebody's not playing. And you can't do that. You can't have that on the, especially with a rookie quarterback. You can't do that. So I think, Jacksonville, it would behoove them, and I know that people don't get like overly excited about this, but I think that Jacksonville is going to have to look to get offensive linemen in the draft. And, maybe look around the league at some guys that are healthy, that maybe are just in positions where they want to try another place. I think that they're going to have to do something with the offensive line. That's the biggest issue that I see right now.
True. I mean, that's where the heart of all ball clubs is, the offensive line and defensive line too. If eventually, maybe perhaps they'll play a little bit better and play like what the defense is playing right now. Defense is fun to watch. They're making plays everywhere, and I can't say enough about Josh Allen and Miles Jack and these guys. They are flying around the ball, and they're gonna have to go some to beat the 49ers, because if you don't get after Jimmy Garoppolo, he's gonna carve you up like a Christmas turkey. So let's hope that they got their game plan on, ready to go for this Sunday.
Yeah, and as we're talking about this, I put up 2 polls here on Twitter at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Make sure you find us on social media. Follow me on Twitter at CallDT, and make sure you vote in our polls that we put up. 2 polls that are up right now. Do you agree or disagree with the firing of Justin Fuente at Virginia Tech? And so that's up. Early polling, 100% agree. So that's very early polling here, though. Would you keep Dan Mullen or let him go if you're the AD of the University of Florida? That poll that is going up right now. Keep him or let him go. And so we'll see what you have to say as we move forward here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Heading back to college football, PJ, the college football playoff, which you know that I love so very much. I love the college football playoff. I just wish it was fair. So looking at the college football playoff right now and where things are currently situated in our rankings, to let everybody know here, this is the 3rd ranking for the college football playoff. So this being the week 3, so to speak, ranking for them. Georgia didn't move from, so 1 through 7 did not move. Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Michigan, and Michigan State. Mind you, there's only 2 teams within that are 10-0, and Cincinnati's outside of the top 4. And then after that, Notre Dame moved up to 8. I just keep seeing Notre Dame squeak up higher and higher. Don't know why, but Notre Dame is number 8. Oklahoma State moved up to number 9. Wake went back into the top 10 at number 10 after defeating a ranked NC State. Baylor moved up 2 to 11. Ole Miss moved up 3 to 12. Oklahoma went down 5 spots from 8 to 13. And then we saw BYU stay at 14. Wisconsin went up 3. Again, I don't get it. They have 3 losses. Texas A&M went down 5, who is also 7-3, and they're number 16 now. Iowa went up 3 to 17. Pittsburgh went up 3 to 18. When Pittsburgh originally got into the polls, they were 5th. 2 weeks ago at the first one, they were 25. So they've moved up 7 spots since then. San Diego State's up 3 to 19. NC State went down 4 after losing Wake Forest. They're 20. Arkansas is up 4 to 21. UTSA, that wasn't involved in the first one, was put in the poll last week and is now up a spot to 22. Utah is up a spot to 23. And then Houston has been put in, and Mississippi State's been put in. So what are your thoughts, PJ? Dropped from the rankings, Auburn at 17 and Purdue at 19. This is what I find hilarious. Hilarious. Purdue beat Michigan State. and they were dropped from the rankings, and Michigan State is number 7. Purdue was not in the rankings in the first week for the college football playoff rankings. They were put into the rankings right after they beat Michigan State, and now they're out of the rankings a week later. So it's like they put them in to justify Michigan State, which wouldn't, to be like, oh, well, Michigan State lost to a team that's ranked, and now they're not ranked. They went from nothing to 19 to nothing, and yet Michigan State is still in the top 7 after losing to a team that fell from the rankings. Does any of this... Oh, and by the way, Michigan's higher than Michigan State, and Michigan State beat them. Does any of this make any sense?
No, no rhyme or reason to it at all. I think if we go back to the 4 that you mentioned, Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and OSU, I think that Georgia... No, I think that... Let me put it this way. I think that Alabama is good enough to beat Georgia, and if that's the case, these 4 teams are not going to move at all. Now, if Georgia beats Alabama, Alabama's going to have 2 losses, then you may see another Big Ten team in there, which I doubt. I think what you probably will see is Notre Dame squeeze in there. So there's a lot of football to be played yet, and the key game is going to be Georgia-Alabama for the SEC championship, and that'll be a hell of a game. Oregon, I don't look for them to slip up at all. And Ohio State, I guess, is playing. They're beating the teams they should beat. They're beating Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan State and Michigan, and so they're doing what they're supposed to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if they stay in there too. So it's a fluid situation, yeah. I like the idea of Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and OSU, all one-loss teams, make the championship. I think that would be fair.
Yeah, and I don't know. To me, looking at this thing, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Michigan State, top 7 team, lost to a team that was dropped from the rankings. Michigan's better than the team that beat them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And Notre Dame keeps creeping up and creeping up and creeping up and creeping up, and they're not doing anything. And I just had somebody say recently, well, Notre Dame plays a really good schedule. I'm going to read you Notre Dame's schedule because I just need to be done with this crap. Because everybody wants to talk about how great this team is and who they play. And again, this is not me witch hunting Notre Dame. I would say this about anybody, that people are just kind of fooled by the ambiance, the glitter of Notre Dame. They beat FSU barely, unranked. Beat Toledo barely, unranked. Beat Purdue, dropped from the rankings. Beat Wisconsin, who's been in and out of, some type of respect. Lost to Cincinnati at home by double digits. Beat Virginia Tech barely on the road. Beat USC, who doesn't have their head coach. Beat North Carolina, who lost to Florida State. Beat Navy, who's been losing to everybody. And won at Virginia. They don't have one win against They have one win against the top 25 ranked team. They have one loss against the only top 10 team they played, which was Cincinnati. They're 1-1 against the top 25. They're 0-1 against the top 10. They barely beat a bunch of unranked schools. And they're not going to play a ranked team for the rest of the season. So I look at Notre Dame and I say to myself, what in the hell have they done? Their losses to Cincinnati. Case in point, done. So, what is there to prove in Notre Dame? Why do they keep rising up the rankings? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. We convincingly beat an unranked team. Well, when Cincinnati convincingly beats unranked teams, you know what happens? Almost nothing. If Cincinnati was to lose today to Alabama, they'd be out of the top 10. If Notre Dame lost to Alabama, they would be heralded as a top 5 team. Because Alabama's a really good team. So, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's all I'm saying, folks. It doesn't make any logical sense. Cincinnati's going to win out. They're going to potentially win an American championship, and none of this crap is going to matter. So, PJ, this is what I ask you. Why are we even playing football games if we decide at the beginning of the year who the teams are going to be?
Well, yeah, we could probably predict that these teams were going to be in the top 4 or 5. An interesting point with Cincinnati. I know that you're on their bandwagon. As most of good football pundits would look at Cincinnati and say they're a good team. They're not a great team. They're a good team. They beat a Notre Dame team, which is good this year, not great. I think the best thing that can happen for the bowl committee or the playoff committee is that Cincinnati loses. Because if Cincinnati keeps winning and keeps winning big, the pressure is going to be put on the playoff committee to include them in the 4. Now, the only way Cincinnati is going to get in there, in my opinion, is if Alabama loses. If Alabama loses, you got Georgia, Cincinnati, Oregon, and Ohio State, providing they don't lose. And there's nothing wrong with that formula. I think Cincinnati would fit in there fine. But the best thing that can happen for the bowl committee and everyone is for Cincinnati to lose. And I don't look for them to lose.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The committee's just hoping that they lose because then they're going to have to sit there. And what do? They don't say anything. They did the same thing last year to Cincinnati. It was worse last year, but they did it to Cincinnati last year. And I said this on the show. Why did you pick Ohio State and not Cincinnati? Ohio State won their conference championship. So did Cincinnati. Ohio State won undefeated. So did Cincinnati. Everything they said about Ohio State, Cincinnati did. You want to know what Ohio State didn't do? They didn't play as many games. And so you're looking at a team that was like 9-0 and a team that was 6-0. Or whatever they were at the time. And the Ohio State wasn't even supposed to play in the Big Ten Championship. They changed the rules so that they could play because they didn't play enough games. So, it's like you change the rules for Ohio State, and then Cincinnati follows the rules and they get put in detention. It doesn't make any sense. And Cincinnati thinks it's going to get better with the Big 12. It's not going to get better with the Big 12. It's not going to get any better with the Big 12. So, it's just, I don't know. Unless they expand this thing, it's not going to change. And we're going to be sitting having the same conversation over and over again. But we have to have this conversation. Because the committee needs to know that we see you. I see you. I see you. I see you for the BS you are. Okay? You might as well have kept the BCS and just called it the BS, because that's what you are. Take the C out. Because you're all BS. You're all conference BS. You're all American BS. Because it's just tell me. Tell me Big Ten, SEC, Notre Dame. That's fine. But PJ, the only one that deserves it is the SEC. You've never heard me contest the SEC. I don't contest Alabama. I don't contest the SEC in general in deserving a college football playoff spot. But the ACC should be pissed off as a mother right now. The ACC should be going bonkers because the committee has made it clear with the ACC, in my opinion, that if it ain't named Clemson, it ain't welcome. And so the ACC's got 14 schools and only one of them matters. The Pac-12, none of them matter for the most part. The Big 12, none of them matter. And the two that do matter, one of them, they're both leaving. So the committee has made clear with the Big 12, you don't have a clear shot. To the Pac-12, you don't have a clear shot. To the ACC, we don't care about any of your teams unless it's Clemson. So the reality is, if this is a Big Ten SEC championship game, then call it that, and let's start another college football playoff. Because I don't want to watch Ohio State versus whoever every state. Like, seriously, Michigan, you're not that good. Michigan State, you're not that good. Ohio State, you're not that good. None of the Big Ten is that good. Go play in the SEC right now and get your butt handed to you. Okay? Well, Dan, that would happen with anybody. You know what? What is your excuse for Cincinnati? Well, if Cincinnati played Alabama, they'd lose. So would everybody. So would most of America. I wouldn't put LeBron James up against Cincinnati because they beat him on the basketball court. Like, Alabama beats everybody. It's not a fair fight. But to tell me that the Big Ten is a good conference this year, why? Because you ranked them? I thought rankings were based on your talent that you played. Michigan has not played talent. Michigan State hasn't played talent. Ohio State hasn't played talent. Oh, you beat Maryland. I don't friggin' care. Oh, you beat Rutgers. You're supposed to. Oh, you beat each other. Listen, if you rank Michigan and Michigan State in the top 10, and then you say, well, they have a top 10 win, yeah, it's against the team you put there that didn't deserve to be there that's in their conference. Did they beat anybody else outside of conference in the top 10? Did they hang tough with anybody? Who did Notre Dame play? Oh, they played Cincinnati and they lost. I'm so sick and tired of this Big Ten pandering. It's BS. The Big Ten, and listen, this is not me disrespecting you guys. I want you to win. I want you to compete. All I'm saying is earn the damn spot. Earn it. If Cincinnati is earning it, and you're doing nothing in earning it, it's not fair. So that's all I want. I want the spot to be earned. I'm not saying that the Big Ten's not competitive. I'm not saying that I don't like any of these schools. I'm not saying I don't support any of these schools or that I don't sit and watch any of these schools. I'm saying I would say the same thing about Florida, about Cincinnati, about Clemson, about Syracuse, about UNC if they didn't earn it. And right now, the Big Ten, for whatever reason, is getting all this clout and getting all this love and getting all these opportunities. And I keep going back to the fact that the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee, Gary Barta, is connected to Iowa, which is in the Big Ten.
Well, you ranted good. That was a good rant. That one of your better. That's a good rant.
Thank you.
I think things were compounded this year. I think because of the lack of a powerful ACC squad. I think we all did, frankly. We all thought that Clemson would be, and the next coming of Tua, quarterback, would sweep through the ACC. Well, that hasn't happened. So, with that being said, you got Clemson eliminated from the equation.
Yeah.
All the other teams didn't matter anyway. NC State, North Carolina, Florida State, whatever. They're not going to matter because Clemson is the top of their division. So, there's no ACC this year. Now, Cincinnati brings up a good point to win. I mean, I'm not disputing that they handled a Notre Dame squad relatively easy because they're played so fast. But I think that Cincinnati's in a no-win situation right now. The chances are they're probably not going to be invited to the top four. And they're probably going to lose their coach. There's no doubt that Luke Fickell is probably on the tongues of several of the schools that we talked about, including Washington, USC, Texas, and Florida, and so on. He's one guy that's going to turn a program around, just like he did with Cincy. So Cincy's in a no-win situation here. If they win and they win out, they can't afford to pay Scott Fickell $5 million a year or $6 million a year. That's not going to happen. Dan Mullen makes $7 million a year coaching for Florida. Now, how many coaches in the country are worth $7 million a year? I'm not saying that Fickell isn't. He's not going to get that kind of money from Cincy or anyone. So he's going to be on the short list of coaches that probably will be looking for a change. Now, if he loses the next couple of games, loses one, he's out of the equation altogether. He'll go to a good bowl game, but he'll be looking for a job. Mel Tucker, who I admire greatly, they just opened up the coffers for him at Michigan State and gave him a multi-million-dollar contract. So Cincinnati's in a tough situation. The ACC has fallen out of favor. I'm not even sure Clemson is going to come back strong next year with this quarterback they got. This kid does not impress me at all. He's not the second coming of Tua. He doesn't make enough plays, and Clemson's defense is not what they used to be.
Yeah.
So your man Dabo was under the gun too. So there's a lot of moving parts here and all of it, frankly, is founded on what Cincinnati's going to do. If Cincinnati can win out, they'll make a really good case to be in the top four. And I tell you, if they don't make the top four and they win out, Fickell's still going to leave because he's going to say, what do I have to do to win a championship game? What do I have to do? My team has lost one game in 2 years, and I can't even get a smell.
Yeah.
And he's not going to get a smell. if he wins out, there's a chance that he could, but look for him to leave and look for the ACC to at least, as a competitive nature, get better next year.
Well, and the thing is, and you bring up good points, the thing is, Luke Fickell, here's the irony, your coach stays with you all these years in the American for Cincinnati, then you decide to go to the Big 12 if he leaves. Think about that. He's been with you all the way through, and then you go to the Big 12 and he leaves. So this is the committee for the college football playoff. Mitch Barnhart, Kentucky AD. Gary Barta, Iowa AD, who's the chair. Paula Bovin, Arizona State professor. Tom Berman, Wyoming athletics director. Charlie Cobb, Georgia State AD. Boo Corrigan, NC State AD. Rick George, Colorado AD. Will Shields, former Nebraska offensive lineman. Gene Taylor, Kansas State AD. Joe Taylor, Vice President for Athletics and Community Wellness, Virginia Union. John Urschel, former Penn State O-lineman. Rod West, Group President, Entergy Corporation. Tyrone Willingham, former head coach at Stanford, Notre Dame, and Washington. You want to know who's not represented there? The American Athletic Conference. Do you want to know who I don't think's really ever represented anywhere? The American Athletic Conference. So I just don't know. I don't know what these teams have to do, and it's frustrating. And I think it's funny that UCF and Cincinnati and Houston think it's better to leave the American and join the Big 12. Because how is the Big 12 getting respected if your name's not Oklahoma and Oklahoma's leaving? So now they've lost their golden child. They're gone. So, I mean, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. There is a policy on recusing yourself from certain things when you're on this committee. So, but it just feels like it feels like a country club that I didn't get invited to play in. I mean, it just seems ridiculous. I feel like I'm, Cincinnati. I've walked through the door and there's a bunch of old guys smoking a cigar saying to me that I don't belong here, boy. Like that's what it feels like. So maybe I get to hold their clubs, maybe I get to drive their cart around or refill their scotch, but I'm not allowed to sit at their table. And you know how I react to people like that. So with that being said, PJ and I have our college football picks for Week 12. I can't believe it's Week 12 already. So we're coming to the tail end of the regular season for college football. And PJ and I have a schedule in front of us to let everybody know what's happened. Maction's already happened on a Tuesday here. Toledo defeated Ohio. Eastern Michigan defeated Western Michigan in a battle of former Syracuse assistant coaches, Fred Reed, the DB's coach at Eastern Michigan, Tim Lester, the head coach at Western Michigan. Bowling Green lost to Miami of Ohio. And then yesterday's games, Buffalo lost in overtime to Northern Illinois, and Central Michigan defeated Ball State by 20. Tonight we have Louisville at Duke, and Louisville coming off of a massive win over Syracuse, because Syracuse never wins when they go to Louisville, ever, and I'm never picking Syracuse in Louisville ever again up to this point. And there has to be something shockingly clear to make me ever pick Syracuse at Louisville ever again for the rest of my life. So I learned, I know better. I was trying to have some hope in it, and they just don't win. It doesn't matter Louisville's record. It really doesn't matter. Louisville could have just started their football program 3 days before Syracuse came in, and they could be trying to field a team of 50-some-odd guys, and they'd still beat Syracuse in Louisville. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about Louisville, but Syracuse does not win when they go there. They don't win when they go there. Maybe that's why there's not a direct flight from Syracuse Airport to Louisville. Maybe that's why. So we got a bunch of games coming up here, a bunch of games on Friday. Memphis at Houston. There's some good stuff coming up. So, PJ, I know that there's a riveting game between Charleston Southern and Georgia that we should really get into and talk about, but I'm not gonna. The game I do want to ask you about is a game that I think some people might have thought was going to be for the Atlantic Division title, and that's Wake Forest at Clemson in the ACC. Clemson hasn't been ranked in many weeks, and Wake Forest is back in the top 10. What do you think about Wake Forest at Clemson?
This is going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to watching this game. This is going to show us if Clemson has anything left in the tank. They better be ready to go because Wake Forest can score some points. You know, they've always prided themselves on their defense, and they're going to have to show up, or Wake Forest is going to score 50 on them. But I believe in the Clemson program over there. I know that I know he does a great job recruiting. He probably hasn't done his best job coaching. Maybe he's got a couple of assistants that need to be removed or such and such and such. But I really think that Clemson can win this game, so I'm going to pick them.
Yeah, I'm going. You're going to go with Clemson. Oh, okay. All right. So PJ is kind of shocked me on that one. So PJ is going Clemson. I am going with Wake Forest. Dave Clawson, again, was given something that wasn't given to Scott Schaefer. That's time. So I got to go with Wake Forest in this one. Clawson's done a fantastic job. He's done a great job over the years. Now, hopefully, people are finally maybe seeing it. And Vegas won't even put a betting line on the Georgia Southern game against Georgia, just so you know. Or Charleston Southern game against Georgia. It's going to be 100 to 7, maybe 100 to nothing. So next game that we have up, PJ is, you know, I gotta sift through all of this because there's a lot of garbage that's going on here. But Georgia Tech at Notre Dame, because you know if Notre Dame beats Georgia Tech, they're going to be a top 5, trooping team here now. Georgia Tech is unranked. They're still trying to fix things under Jeff Collins, who's trying to take out Paul Johnson's triple option. It's been a couple years, but his first year was a COVID year. So Georgia Tech's playing Notre Dame. If Notre Dame wins this game at home, they'll glorify this team as the second coming of whatever. So what do you think about Georgia Tech at Notre Dame?
Well, Notre Dame should win the game strictly on their talent, but there's a lot to be played for this time of year, and Notre Dame understands that. And the more we bash them, the better they seem to play. They beat a really good Virginia team last week. I was impressed with that. I look for Notre Dame to win easy here.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Notre Dame in this matchup, but I don't think that it makes them a top 4 team. So let me be extremely clear with that them beating another unranked team and at home doesn't do anything for the rankings, but it will. So I'm going to pick Notre Dame in that one. Next game up. What? Go ahead.
Just a point of contention here. You mentioned Clausen of Wake Forest. Now there's a man that I've heard. His name is popped around a lot down in the South. His name seems to come up anytime there's a problem with a football team, LSU, and so on. His name is right there. So don't be surprised if Clausen will be removed from Wake Forest and sign a big contract with one big SEC team. May even be Florida. So Clausen, he's a first class guy, good recruiter, and a good coach. So if the offers are right, he's going to be leaving Wake Forest.
Yeah, well, Luke Fickell and Dave Clawson, 2 names that Florida might want to look at. I know Greg said something here about that here in the feed. Arkansas at Alabama. What are your thoughts?
Arkansas could be competitive in this game, but I think Alabama's just got too much talent. Their quarterback, well, he's another guy that looks unstoppable. He can run, he can pass. Alabama, they just field the best athletes that you could. That's what they do. They field athletes, and Saban makes them make plays. So, this is probably not going to be as close as it should be because Alabama should win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Alabama in this one as well. I want it to be a good game. I want it to be close, but I believe in Alabama. SMU has played spoiler many a time to teams in the American. They're on the road at Cincinnati. What are your thoughts?
Cincinnati better pay attention here. This is a trip-up game here. I don't think that it's going to trip up because I said Cincinnati and Fickell. He's another guy that can talk. And when you sit in front of your team of 85 to 100 players, and you say, "Listen, you can't trust that team out there to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Go out there, play hard, win easy. Let's get it over in the first half and give some guys a chance to play." That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Cincinnati in this game, but I know very well that SMU is a spoiler, and Temple is, Memphis is. That's the other thing about the American. It's competitive from top to bottom. East Carolina's won a bunch of games this year that I'm sure nobody thought they were going to win. I mean, this conference is competitive, and it's fun to watch. So I just wish people would give more respect. Oregon at Utah, 2 ranked teams. What do you got?
This is good. This is another trip-up game. Oregon's got to pay attention here, too. I'm pretty sure they're playing at Utah. So, you know, this really probably is a one-touchdown different game. I'm going to go with Oregon because I think they have the talent to win it.
I'm going with Utah in this game. So
okay.
I think Utah is going to make this game very interesting, and I think Utah is going to accidentally set up Cincinnati to be in the top 4, but they'll give it to Notre Dame or somebody else. So
well, that's good. If you know, that's really going to shake up the standings again if Oregon loses, because Oregon will be out of it. So yeah. I've been pumping Oregon all year long. So you know, the Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, OSU is going to go out the window when Oregon loses, if they do.
Well, and the thing is, what I find interesting is that, you know, Ohio State lost to Oregon, but if Oregon loses to Utah, they'll be like, oh, well, that's a quality loss, win, loss, win, 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 loss, and they'll put Ohio State higher. So it doesn't make any sense. The last game that I want to ask you about, PJ, is, well, there's 2 games to ask you about. Obviously, your Florida-Missouri game, Florida at Missouri. What do you have for that?
Well, the teams are going opposite directions. I mentioned earlier that Florida lost to South Carolina in a very uninspired effort, and Missouri beat South Carolina. So if you compare that, Missouri should win a game. But no, Florida has too much talent. Somehow this has got it. Mullen has to pull this together this week. I mean, this guy's been a coach for 13 years in the SEC. This is his most important, critical game here. If he doesn't do it, he's gone. He's lost.
Yeah. PJ, I love you. I love you. You know I do. I'm picking Missouri. I just don't. I feel like there's some bleeding that started in Florida, and I don't think it's done. So I don't know why the Dan Mullen thing has fallen so far, and I just think that playing Missouri on the road at Missouri after being tied in the third quarter with Samford, 42 apiece, I don't see the bleeding stopping, and if they can't stop anybody defensively, I think Missouri's going to capitalize.
Yep.
Last game, Syracuse at number 20 ranked NC State.
Well, NC State is for real, and they play tough. Syracuse really disappointed last week. I didn't get to see any of the game, but I read a lot about it, and they talk about uninspired play. They didn't look inspired against Louisville. So I like NC State here. Sorry about that.
No, I'm going with NC State in this one, too. I respect the heck out of Dave Doran, my guy Ruffin McNeil. Syracuse is, I mean, they're losing players from the locker room. They're, you know, the way that they lost to Louisville, it's just, you know, that's a knife to the heart. So, you know, they got to win one game to become bowl eligible, and they ended up fielding 2 top 20 teams to try and do that. NC State is for real, and they're at home. And, you know, it's a team that sells out their season tickets. And Pittsburgh is a pain in the tush to play. And Servassier Dennis, who Dino Babers refused to give an offer to, who is at Christian Brothers Academy down the road, is one of the top linebackers in the ACC. And he's going to come to the Dome, and he's going to definitely want to make his presence felt. So I don't feel good about the buzzsaw that Syracuse has walked itself into. I love my hometown. I love these guys on the team. I just don't see how they find a way at NC State. So, you know, I tried to give them credit against Louisville, and Louisville, I mean, that game was out of reach in the first half. So, I mean, for me, I want them to go to a bowl game. I want this for Aaron Service. I want this for Josh Black. I want this for all the McKinley Williams. I want this for all the guys. I do. Schrader, Tucker, you know, Quealy, and so on and so forth. But I don't see them beating NC State. So with that being said, Papa Joe, as always, we had some extended time today. I appreciate you for being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I get to see you soon, so that's a good thing, too.
All right, see you later, bud.
All right, take care. That coming from Papa Joe here, where sports meets that thing called life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I definitely appreciate Papa Joe being here, hanging out with us, where sports meets that thing called life. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we'll be joined, I know it's a few minutes back here, but we're going to be joined by Matt Gallagher, the head coach of the Maine-Endwell Spartans football team, who just won their Section 4 Class B championship title game and is now moving on in states with an opportunity this weekend to continue to go forward when they face off against Homer. That's coming up right after this fast break.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCall. DT, is it an honor and a privilege to be here inside of the Cafe Cabal studios with Mr. Matt Gallagher. Matt Gallagher coming to us from Maine-Endwell. We had the opportunity to speak with Matt going into the season in something that we call Sunny and D with Sunny Spira and myself, Dan Tortora, a product of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and that special was proudly presented by Progressive Dental with plenty of dental offices all throughout the Southern Tier. Sonny and I had an opportunity to really get to know Matt and get to know his team, and now we get to speak with Matt as they've continued their season into the postseason, coming off of a sectional championship and continuing on in states. So really, really incredible to have Matt back on the show, and of course with good news. Matt, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate having me on.
Absolutely, and you know, it's got to feel good that, you know, we talked just a couple months ago going into the season at Progressive Dental on Hooper Road there in Endwell, New York, and here you are still rocking and rolling. So it's got to be a beautiful thing. To me, it feels like, I told you before we got on the air, it feels like we literally had the conversation and you guys played like 2 weeks and now it's the playoffs. It's crazy.
I know it's gone really fast, and you know, when you have great kids and you love being around them, it kind of goes even faster, you know, because it's just like you know, you look forward to week by week, But the way these guys worked, and how they came together, it doesn't surprise me that we're where we are right now.
And that's what I was going to get at with you is you saying that it doesn't surprise you that the team is where they are right now. What is it about this team that it doesn't surprise you that they've had so much success this season?
Well, the fact that it doesn't surprise me is not the fact that we just definitely knew we were going to win. It's the fact that these guys continue to prepare and get better every week. And, they put a lot of time in over the summer. And not only was the hard work there, but the fact that they've come together, the chemistry of this team is special, actually. A lot of people have had to step up, the next man up deal had to happen, unfortunately, for us throughout the whole year. But now, to be honest with you, we have everybody back for the most part that can be back. Let's put it that way. And I think that time that each and every one of them had throughout the year, jumping in there and having to play their role really is going to help us going into the playoffs now.
Yeah, like you said, the next man up approach, which really creates for you the opportunity to, there's adversity that comes, but with that adversity also comes the fact that there's guys out there on your team getting reps that maybe wouldn't have gotten them, which once those other guys come back provides for you necessary depth. So just what you can say about the art of the dance, I guess is what I would call it, of having somebody come in that's not expected to play, but then if and when they do well, knowing that you have that depth when you need it moving forward.
Yeah, that's extremely important because as a coaching staff, what it does is it gives us fresh legs throughout the whole game now. So now we can spell these guys throughout because we know and we're confident in the play of the other guys. So we can spell them a series here, a series there, maybe two in a row, and then so everyone's fresh throughout the whole game. So, and knowing that there's not much of a drop off, that's a huge deal for us as a coaching staff.
Yeah, and when it works out, it's perfect. And that's the beauty of it is when things work out. What can you say about some of the guys that stepped up that really impressed you this season? There's some seniors, there's some juniors, and there's some sophomores. So it's everybody. We even had some JV guys that came up about 3 weeks early because we were, we got hit with some COVID, we got hit with just some injuries. So we had some JV guys that came up 3 weeks early that actually got into a couple of the games. And then on top of the guys, now what we talked about, which I think is a big difference between us and maybe a lot of other teams, is that when you're a role player, you can just jump in there and you can be really good because that's all you have to do. But when you become the guy at that position and you have to do everything right every single play, it becomes a big difference. And then when a minimal role player starts to become a major role player, kind of everyone gets bumped up that one little extra, that one little extra commitment, that one little extra pressure. So when you have to not just, get a toss to you and you can run around the end, because you have a lot of speed, now you're the guy that you have to block every play now, all right, if you're not getting the ball. You have to make sure you're going in motion correctly. You have to make sure that the pass routes. You have to, all those things have to come into play now. And it was pretty impressive to see that our guys were able to step up and, increase their role when they needed to. And speaking here with Matt Gallagher, the head coach of Maine-Endwell's football program, you had a very interesting season. Speaking on next man up, you also had to deal with the fact that wins were forfeited, then they were reinstated and given back. How did you handle all of this, knowing that your team is playing games and then being kind of handed down this ruling of, hey, this season might just be null and void, and then fighting that and appealing that?
Well, we just wanted to make sure that it didn't affect us when we got to the playoffs. We just wanted to try to get our whole team intact, and that's the most important thing, to have everybody that's been there every day working hard being able to play. If the wins came, that would have been great, but to be honest with you, as long as if we had everybody, that's all we cared about, and that's what we were hoping for. And hopefully that's going to happen going into this Saturday.
How did you handle that with the team, and how did you handle that as a coach? Something that typically, obviously, you don't have to deal with during a normal season, to have to go through something like this, how did you kind of corral everybody to stay focused, and how did you stay focused?
Well, the whole coaching staff did an unbelievable job, and to be honest with you, it was the kids. The kids rallied, and they understood the situation, and all they cared about is, like I said, making sure that everybody was part of the group and everybody was part of the team, and that everybody knew that, and that was the most important thing, right? And then, if those wins came back to us, that was great, but as long as that we could go into the playoffs in a clean slate, that's all people cared about.
And for you to have that as you're trying to get ready, trying to get prepared, with that going on in the background, like you said, if the wins came back, great. You just didn't want it to affect where you were in the postseason. How did you practice, and how did you kind of like talk to your coaching staff in preparation of the postseason and going through the postseason, knowing that, this was all kind of up in the air? How did you try to, did it affect anything, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, based on when it actually happened, it really didn't, because we knew who we had to beat, and it just happened to be the teams that were in our class.
Yeah.
So it didn't really affect us. And then, if we beat those teams, it would have been, the same way as it would have been if none of that ever happened. The seedings would have been the same and all those types of things. So the only way it would have mattered is if the wins didn't come back, just for one team, but the other two teams that we had to play, we would have been in the same situation. So the kids went out there, they just kind of took care of the business that they could, and which you got to tip your hat to them for. And that doesn't surprise me with this bunch, that they went out there and did what they had to do, stuck together doing it. And, that's a lot of the reason why we're here now.
Here with Maine-Endwell, the Spartans head coach, and that being Matt Gallagher, who spent some time with us going into this season with our Sonny and D special from Progressive Dental, is now here back with us as the team continues on through the postseason. Bring me into the Section 4 championship that you had and your play up against Owego. You blanked them out there, so offensively you were able to do what you needed to do. Defensively, you were able to shut them down, winning the Section 4 Class B championship 42-0 back on November 12th. Just what you could say about that game and your biggest takeaways.
Well, anytime that you can get a shutout in the section championship, that's a great thing. Owego, when we first played them, just like most teams, they were hit with a bunch of COVID and a bunch of injuries. So we thought, them coming back, I believe they were at full strength, which was great for them. Those kids that were able to come back from COVID or injuries, whether they were seniors or not, and even more, especially for the seniors, that they were able to play in a championship game like that. That was great to see that, and we went out there, and if we were able to beat them with, if they were full strength, that even makes us a little bit more proud that we were able to kind of take care of business like that.
What were your biggest kind of positive points? I know obviously the shutout is important, but when you go back and you look at the film as a coach, what are some of the biggest takeaways you had from that championship?
Well, I think the fact that the next man up situation that we had to deal with actually paid off, because, a lot of our role players played a lot, and they continued the shutout, and they continued to score. So that was a great thing. Maybe that wouldn't have happened 4 or 5 weeks ago when some of these kids didn't get much time, but now that they got all that time over the past 5 or 6 weeks, that allowed them to go out there, take care of business offensively, and then make sure that they could shut those guys down defensively. So as a coaching staff, that really, was a positive thing that we left the game with.
We look back on the time that we had, like I said, with you going into the season, with your linemen, Josh and Jake, just what you could say about those two gentlemen, what they meant to the program, as I had the opportunity, and Sonny, I had the opportunity to get to know them a little bit better. What you could say about your linemen, and then specifically Josh and Jake, because you chose them to speak for the program going into the season.
Yeah, those are two seniors that have done a great job. Josh, unfortunately had a little injury here or there, but he's still in there battling. And Jake has just been absolutely dominant on both sides of the ball. So without those two, we definitely wouldn't be where we are. And then along with them, we have 3 sophomores that are starting. So actually, and a junior, they kind of rotate a little bit. So between those 6 guys, those 5 positions have been pretty solid throughout the whole year, and it's shown. If your line is intact, that goes a long way, and our guys have been able to do that. It allows us to put up a lot of points, and then get the wins that we need.
Yeah, and 2 of the other gentlemen we got to sit down with in our special from Progressive Dental, Mike Mancini and Jordan Owens, just what you could say about Mike and Jordan and what they've meant to the program this season.
Well, Jordan, unfortunately, he's the one guy that we won't have back. In the first half of week 3, he tore his ACL, so he's actually out for the whole year. When you lose in what I consider the best player in New York State, I honestly do, and I'll go to bat for him, saying that every single day. What he can do on both sides of the football, I think he's the best player in New York State. And when you lose a guy like him, that's when the next man situation steps up, and our guys were able to do that. And then which put a ton more pressure on Michael, and Michael handled it beautifully, has handled it beautifully. And a lot of the stuff that Jordan did, it landed on Michael's shoulders, and he's carried us. We go, our line is impressive, but we go as far as Michael's going to take us. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, and you, like you said, with Jordan and the injury that happened to him, how have you seen his resolve, and how have you seen him still be a part of this team and still be a part of this run?
Well, that's the impressive part about Jordan. I think a week or 2 after it happened, he got surgery. He was at practice before he got surgery, and he's at practice just about every day, unless he's at a PT or something along those lines. But he's on the sidelines of every game. He's been around for a while, so his leadership is important to us, whether he's playing or not. And the younger guys see that, and then he sees stuff on the field that we may not, and he can kind of talk to some of the guys on the sidelines too during the game, and even in practice. That's gonna help them. So anytime Jordan's around, obviously we love to have him.
And you talked about Mike Mancini, how more things were put on his shoulders with the absence of Jordan. Just how you saw him respond to what was put on his shoulders, and just what he needed to do going into the season, and then have that kind of be accelerated without Jordan.
Yeah. Well, when they could share the load, it was easier. But when Michael knows that he's the best player on the field, and he is, and he wants the ball, and you want to give the ball to someone like him, and he hasn't disappointed yet, and I know he won't, because at least I know one thing: he's gonna go down with his best effort at all times, and everybody on the team knows that. So if you have a quarterback that will scratch and grind for every yard, and try to run people over. A lot of quarterbacks don't do that. But if you have a quarterback that will do that, the team really rallies around that. So, and Michael's that guy. So as long as Michael's around, I feel our chances are pretty good.
Maine-Endwell this season, to you, did you see this in the team? Did you see that? I know you've been through injuries and different things that have gone on, but when we were talking a couple months ago, did you get the feeling? No, I mean, obviously you've been successful. You've done a lot of good things at Maine-Endwell, but did you have that with this year's team? Did you think we would be sitting here today talking about a run through the states?
I did, actually. Based on this team and how well they've prepared, or even, we look at years when we, here. I mean, and we look at, progression and things happen over years of time. So, and what they did in the spring from the COVID year, and then what, they have been doing all the way up through. So, I felt that if things went well, we stayed away from the injury bug, that we had a really good shot of being where we are. And to make it even more impressive is we didn't stay away from the injury bug, and these guys are still here. So, that just is an impressive thing, and these guys, all the credit obviously goes to them of how they've handled everything.
What did you learn about yourself, Coach? Speaking here with Matt Gallagher, the head coach of the Maine-Endwell Spartans football program here in upstate New York. What have you learned about yourself as a coach as you've gone through the season?
Well, what I've always known that we have great coaching staff. and we have just an unbelievable group of kids. And it's not really like I learned that this year because we've had them throughout the time that we've been here. But you know, to see that part is continuing, that's kind of special. You know, and that these kids are just are fully committed, and you know, so I hope things pan out for them because they deserve it.
You being a part of Section 4 in the Southern Tier there in Class B, winning that championship. You'll play Section 3 winner for Class B, and that being Homer. You have a history against Homer. They're no stranger to you. That game will be coming up this coming Saturday, November 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time at Dick Hoover Stadium in Vestal, New York. What can you say about Homer?
You know, like you said, we have played him in the past. We played him in 2014 in the same round. And that was a great team. Back then, they had a 2,000-yard back. We knew that he was their main focus. You know, the coaching staff of Homer does a great job. They're always prepared, disciplined, classy bunch of kids. So we're looking forward to the game as far as that's concerned. You know, we know that both teams are going to go out there, show a lot of class, and it's going to be a hard-fought game. They're big. They have some big backs. You know, so we just have to make sure that we stay low on our tackles. When we're trying to take them off the ball, we got to stay low as well. And, you know, it's going to be a cold day. Hopefully no rain. But, you know, and ball security is obviously going to be super important as well. So we're concentrating on that. So if we hold on to the ball, you know, we tackle low, you know, hopefully things will go our way.
Having the success that you've had in history, how do you continue to come back? You know, you've been to great places, you've done great things. What continues to keep you motivated to want to do it with another group every single year?
The kids and the guys that I coach with. To be honest with you, you know, we and plus just Maine-Endwell in general. Our family's been all in at Maine-Endwell. You know, obviously my wife Julie she's an administrator here. My boys went through here. You know, and we've been here for 30 years. So we're all in. Pretty much everything in our life revolves around Maine-Endwell. And just to see that kind of brings me back every year. And the fact, you know, the competition part of it, and the fact that the kids are committed to it, and you know, and they want to win. And that happening every year is a tribute to our coaching staff. The fact that they are here all year round. You know, there's no way anybody can do this type of stuff alone. You know, at the beginning, you know, I always say that I surrounded myself with the greatest guys, and it's true. You know, I think that's what's kind of led to our success. The continuity of that as well. The guys being here year after year after year, and then the fact that they work all year round, and they are so dedicated, and that kind of spills over onto the kids. And then after, you know, when those two things connect, things work out pretty good.
You've been named one of the most influential high school football coaches in the nation of all 50 states. You have been named Coach of the Year. You've won numerous state titles in the state of New York. What does it all mean to you to know that not only in the state of New York, well, I should say this, not only in the Southern Tier, not only in Section 4, not only in New York State, not only in regionally on the, you know, East Coast or in the Northeast, but across the entire country, there's a respect for Matt Gallagher. What does it mean to you to have worked to a point where the nation sees what you're doing at Maine-Endwell?
Well, it all falls back on the guys, right? The guys that you know, work with me, and the players, and even the school. You know, they allow us to do what we do. They allow us to work all year round. They give us, I believe we have the best facilities around. And when you have all that stuff and you have a great administration and they understand what it takes, all that stuff comes together. You know, and then I've had the opportunity to go and see some great coaches and learn from them. You know, and it's kind of all come full circle. And, you know, without all that stuff, you know, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, so I just, you know, all that stuff is kind of what brings it around. And, you know, as far as maybe, just kind of getting in there every day. And if someone can remember me as somebody that works hard and is committed to the kids, well, then that's what I care about.
You are very even keel, Matt. We talk about all these huge things and you're very, you just stay on that level. How do you stay so? I'm sitting here like state champion, one of the coaches that the nation looks at. Your reputation precedes you. Maine-Endwell, when it comes to football, when it comes to, obviously Little League baseball and a lot of different things, it's on the map. This tiny community in New York State has a ton of respect, and it connects back to Maine-Endwell. How do you stay so humble and even keel when I'm sitting here going, hey, Matt, this is really good stuff. And you're like, yeah, it is.
Well, I'm number 6 out of 7 kids. Maybe that's why.
Okay.
And you can't get too crazy because things humble you quickly, right? So, that's why we just kind of keep working and keep driving and keep going, keep going after the grind, because a lot of that stuff can be taken away from you quickly. And if you don't keep grinding, then, like I said, those things may not happen. So that's what we're just going to continue to do. And hopefully things work out.
Yeah, and before I let you go, for the community, what do you want to say to them? To, Maine-Endwell, current students, student athletes, teachers, administration, alumni, future students and student athletes. What do you want to tell past, present, and future when it comes to the community of Maine-Endwell?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've actually said this plenty of times, is the fact that, the expectation at Maine-Endwell is super high. Everybody says that about the football program, and the standard is set high, the bar is set high, but it's not just the football program. It is Maine-Endwell, period. If you come to Maine-Endwell, you are expected to do good things. All right, you are expected to succeed. So whether it's definitely in the classroom, all right, but if you look at, you don't even look at the football program. You look at all the other sports. We win section titles all the time. You look down on the turf and you see numerous teams all year round working hard. You see our weight rooms packed all the time. You see our band is recognized in New York State, if not nationwide. Everything about us is good. You know what I mean? So, and that's a tribute to the community. The community backs Maine-Endwell schools. All right. Our administration, like I said before, backs us. The teachers in all 4 buildings are amazing. And I think actually the football program, we kind of ride the coattails of all that. We really do. If everyone is expected to do well, all right, that whole thought process works its way onto the football field, on the practice field, and then on game day. So we're trying to just keep up with it, is the way I'm looking at it, right? And we're holding up our end of the bargain as far as trying our best to make sure that we're trying to reach that level of achievement and success at Maine-Endwell. And we're going to make sure that we keep doing that, because we want to make sure that, they're proud of the Maine-Endwell football program.
Is there any thought that you would come up and coach a college program that we may need help with?
Well, I don't know about that. There's a lot more to that than I probably have the knowledge for, but hopefully things will start working out better up there. The last couple of weeks, actually, definitely, I think it was last week, right? That was bad. That was a tough one. But at times, I think they look really good. That's the problem. If they get a little bit more consistent, hopefully things will work out for them.
What keeps you at Maine-Endwell? I know you talk about, the level of excellence and that everything kind of like, that you have the administration support and there's that push, and that football, like you said, football rides the coattails of all this success. I think a lot of people would disagree with you and say that football leads a lot of this, but just what keeps you at Maine-Endwell after everything you've accomplished and everything you've done? What keeps you coming back specifically there? And I know I keep coming back to it, but it's the community, it's the school itself, it's I love I always say I have the best job in America, right? I love teaching, and then of course I love coaching. So and the kids. So
with all that, you can't walk into the school in a bad mood for very long because someone's going to make you smile, right? So that's the way we look at it. I know that's the way I approach it. I don't come to work every day. I come to school every day. I don't call it work because to me it's not. It's a lot of fun. I don't think I've ever called it work one day in my life. I just go to school, and that's kind of the way I approach it. And if you're happy every day, then why leave, right? That's the way I look at it.
I love that answer. And in closing, quick here, because you're wearing it, USA Football, Heads Up Football. Why did you choose to have that on, and what does that mean to you, obviously, as we love this sport, but also have to practice the safety of it?
To be honest, why I have it on is because it matches the pants, and my wife said it matches the pants. Julie said it matches, so that's why I have it on.
Okay.
But no, as far as this is concerned, I've been lucky enough to work with a great bunch of people across the country when it comes to USA Football and spreading the knowledge of concussion awareness and health and safety of all football players. So if I anything like that, like I said, if I can do anything like that to help anybody out across the nation, I will. And then not only that, but it brings so much back here to Maine-Endwell. All the things that I've learned from everybody across the country, I can bring it back here and present it to our guys and hopefully in some way, of course, make them much more safe, and then also a little bit more competitive at the same time.
Have we done a better job? Do you think we're getting better with handling concussions and with player safety? Are we getting somewhere, in your opinion?
I do. I think we are, really. I think the equipment's getting better. I think the way people are teaching tackling, I think the decrease in the amount of contact that's going on in practice, I think that's a huge, important step. But just the coaches, taking pride and being committed to learning the proper techniques of tackling and then understanding that you can't have so much contact every single day. And that we're not even talking at the high school level. We're talking all the way down to the youth. And one of the great things this year, we didn't have one concussion in our whole youth program. And that's a tribute to our football staff and the youth program. And in the past we've had a few, but this year we went through the entire season and we didn't have one concussion. So I was definitely excited to hear that.
I mean, yeah, I think that above everything is fantastic news to hear something of that respect, and hopefully it'll stay that way. So Matt Gallagher, Maine-Endwell Spartans football program, continuing on in states after winning a Section 4 Class B championship by blanking their opponent. We go 42-0. Matt, I appreciate you. Love having you here. I selfishly want to be able to talk to you about another victory coming up here soon. So I look forward to talking with you hopefully soon.
All right. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Want to give an awesome thank you to Cafe Kubal, the Cafe Kubal Studios, where you will find fantastic coffee, tea, and my favorite chai, as well as my favorite pumpkin spice chai. On site, on location at 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street, 208 North Townsend Street, all in Syracuse. Inside of Galasanos Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, and in Manlius at 343 Fayette Street in the giant brown stripe building, and of course on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in the Sweetheart Corners area of North Syracuse. Very nostalgic to our community, so make sure you head out there today. So excited to have all the fantastic partners we have, including Cafe Kubal. I'm also very excited to give you this brand spanking new news. You know, I talk all the time about how grateful I am to God about the fact that I've gotten to announce things instantaneously as breaking news on my broadcast, which is really cool. And I'm excited and so happy to be able to do this. So I get to make another announcement. Just like so many announcements we've gotten to make here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I get to make another announcement live, breaking news in the moment. And that live breaking news is that beginning in 2022, the Women's Division I basketball tournament will expand to 68 teams, equaling the amount of teams the Men's Division I tournament has. Also, the teams will be selected on Selection Sunday instead of being selected on a different day. They'll be selected on Selection Sunday like the men's teams beginning this coming March 13th, 2022. So, beginning in 2022, the Division I women's basketball tournament will expand to as many teams as the men have, with 68. Those four teams being added will be playing games like the men, from what I'm understanding here. And Selection Sunday is going to be men's and women's Division I basketball, not just men's Division I basketball. The 4 newly added opening round games will be on the campuses of teams seated in the top 16. Sites will be selected based on bracketing principles and procedures. This is all coming from the NCAA, mind you. All sites bidding to host first and second round games must agree to host the opening round games as well. Beginning with the 2023 championship, the first 4 games will be conducted in a to-be-determined neutral site, just like we see with Dayton, Ohio with the first 4. So this coming NCAA tournament in 2022, the games are going to be on the campuses of the teams seated in the top 16. So they're going to be on those. And if you're bidding to host first and second round games and you play an opening round game, you have to agree to host that opening round game. And it's going to be based on bracketing principles and procedures that they have. So, as you know, the first and second round games for the women's basketball tournament can be hosted on site by a team playing within it. If they're chosen for an opening round game, they have to agree to host that. So if you're offering to host the first and second round games, you have to agree to host the opening round game on your campus as well, and you have to be seated in the top 16. So that's all new, that these opening round games will be added to the schedule. And because of the timing of it all, I think that's why probably there's no neutral site. And then beginning in 2023, there will be a neutral site for the 4 opening round games, just like we see in Dayton, Ohio with the first 4, like I stated. And worth noting is that Selection Sunday is now going to be for men's and women's basketball. So shout out to the women for some equality, some equal treatment here, that Selection Sunday is for everybody, which is cool. So we're going to see 68 teams plus 68 teams for those of you playing the home game. That means 136 teams will be selected on Selection Sunday for men's and women's Division I basketball, and that the women's team is going to be expanded, or the women's league is going to be expanded to 68 teams for their tournament like the men, and we'll have these opening round games. And there'll be a neutral site starting in 2023. So congratulations to the women on an awesome victory before we even play the tournament. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for 68 teams, and I'm excited there'll be more opportunities for women's teams around the country to get in because there's so many women's teams, and very much looking forward to that and looking forward to Selection Sunday even more now. So we'll take our final step aside of the broadcast and be back to wrap up the show right after this. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, you're watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Cafe Kubal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafekubal.com. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Endwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market today and every Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. to try their fantastic homemade breads, desserts, quinoa bowls, rice bowls, brick oven pizzas. So many great things there, including the sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our taste buds and ingrained in our community, the Millhouse Market is second to none when it comes to providing fantastic food you won't find anywhere else, with a fantastic owner in Rebecca Alford, who's consistently challenging herself to create even better menu items like they could get any better. The Millhouse Market, always on the rise and always worth the drive every time. 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. With that being stated here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to tell you to have a fantastic day from inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, but not before we remind you that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is a proud multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. Proud multimedia marketing partner of Lemoyne is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. We are so proud every single month to bring you stories with these Lemoyne Dolphins with AD and DT every first and third Wednesday, where Athletics Director Bob Beretta and I get to tell stories about Lemoyne College and focus on certain topics every single episode. Every episode's different. Every episode brings you information that is only found on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, unedited, unfiltered, and there for you. So make sure you check that out on our archive on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on wakeupcalldt.com by clicking the Lemoyne tab. And Dolphin Dive every second and fourth Wednesday, where I have the opportunity to speak with student athletes, coaches, and staff members of Lemoyne to tell their story, their why, and why they chose Lemoyne and what Lemoyne means to them. You can check out those Dolphin Dive stories, including an incredible one for Thanksgiving week coming up with Breanne Rett this coming Wednesday, November 24th, so don't miss that. And you can check out those archives of the Dolphin Dive episodes by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. And as always, folks, fins way up. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of the Marywood Pacers. It's all Pacer pride on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and at Marywood University. Pacer pride is our exclusive content that you will find on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com, where I have the pleasure of sitting down with Executive Director of Athletics Pat Murphy at Marywood, as well as their head coaches and student athletes. Don't miss a second of all of our specials now available to you, with new ones coming up, new episodes being aired all throughout the month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora exclusively in our Pacer Pride multimedia marketing partnership. Very proud to work with Marywood University and support your Pacers and tell you the stories that you won't find anywhere else. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also wanting to thank Central and Upstate New York and all of our fantastic partners, Carvel DeWitt, Cafe Cubal, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Progressive Dental, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Lemoyne College, Honda City of Liverpool, the Millhouse Market, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, PB&J's Lunchbox, and Mother's Cupboard, where we have our food challenges monthly. You can check out our upcoming food challenge for Thanksgiving coming up here very soon. And, of course, check out our pumpkin pancake challenge, which I'm very excited to share with you again. We're going to re-air that here this week. And you can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to find us on any one of your podcasting and video platforms. Check YouTube, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, and Stitcher. You can find Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora by simply searching Wake Up Call DT. That's all you have to do, or search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And, of course, be here with us live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life, on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, wakeupcalldt.com, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as facebook.com/live-now-dt. With all that being said, find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, the Twitter at CallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. On the day that I unveil my new headphones that I love so very much from Audio Technica, my orange, what are they called? Light Lantern Glow. This is, and the funny thing is, when you talk about Lantern and you talk about the Green Goblin and all that, when I made my Spider-Man, when I screen wrote what I would do for a Spider-Man movie, I had the Hobgoblin in the copper orange. So this lantern kind of copper orange color is what I had him as. And now all these years later, I have headphones with that. So maybe that's telling me to get back into movies. Maybe it's telling me to get working on these Spider-Man movies. So very excited, very humbled, and very much appreciate my headphones from Audio Technica. So thank you so much for that. I hope you have a great day. God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll see you on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. And I can't wait to talk with you soon. Thank you to Papa Joe, and a big old thank you as well to Matt Gallagher, and a God bless for their game coming up this weekend for Maine-Endwell in the States. So we'll talk with you soon, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Be well, everybody, and stay safe.